It's the Pixel 8a versus the outgoing Pixel 7a. And I'm going to title this What a Difference a Year Makes, but that's really external. That's really in the design choices that Google has made, because internally, these are remarkably similar devices, which we'll talk about in a moment. And it's really going to come down to which price that you want to pay and which experience that you want to get going forward between the Pixel 8a and the Pixel 7a. I'm going to have a feature coming out for Android Police coming out here in the next week or so, talking about there's really never a good time to buy a Pixel. And boy, has that never been more the case, because they create so many awkward pricing scenarios between their devices. It's almost impossible to get in at the right price point to the device you want. So when we're going through these two devices, I will say this. Yes, there is a price that I'm going to recommend getting the Pixel 7a at over the 8a, but get the device you want. Enough of this, I'm going to wait for a drop on this one, I'm going to wait for a drop on this one. Google's a moving train. And I really don't think there is any strategy there in terms of which differentiation between the devices, whatever. I thought they were going in that direction with the 8 Pro and the 8, and I was like, okay, maybe they're creating a little bit more there between it. No, it just seems to be like they're throwing darts at a board at any given day what the pricing strategy is with their different devices. Because you can get one of these, the Pixel 7a, online right now, Amazon. Renewed is about $330. Brand new, they're $420, but a Pixel 7 is $400. So you got... Very confused, but I'm going to include links for both these in the descriptions. The best areas I think you get them. Best Buy for this one, you're still paying full price, but this one, don't pay over $400 for this at this point. If that's the case, then really that's when I'll recommend, hey, wait for a sale and pick up an 8A. So let's talk about the obvious, the visual here. If you had told me that the Pixel 7a had a bigger display, I would believe you. But they're both 6.1-inch displays. But just because of the design differences between these two, it looks like the 7a is significantly, or at least noticeably larger than the Pixel 8a. So you've got that kind of, and you're going to see this on the Pixel 9. So don't say, oh, I don't want it, and whatever else I'm going to hold out. Pixel 9 is going to look like this, most likely. At least kind of take over this. It looks like they put the Pixel 7a in a microwave, right? And then kind of molded it into this. That's what the feeling that I get. This is very nice in the hand, just like the Pixel 8 Pro. Very smooth. Love the matte plastic on the back here as opposed to the shiny plastic on the 7a. But just understand that you're getting very different feels and very different devices on the outside. Now, that said, so you got to pick which one that you prefer. Now, you got the different, you get the bezel situation on both, and you could talk about that. And if you whether you like the squared off edges, kind of give you like a Note feel, or the previous like a Pixel 6 feel, or you like the rounded edges here, like an older school device with Pixel, where you get kind of the rounder edges and softer feel in the pocket, and a little doesn't jag it, it doesn't catch on anything, whatever. You get the idea. There's a difference in design there. Now, let's talk about the internals, because it's really not a whole lot different there. Yes, Tensor 3 is a significant upgrade over the Tensor 2. Not even necessarily power-wise or performance-wise or gaming-wise or all the rest of it, because they both feature 8 gigs of RAM. And I think they both, you're still getting enough jump or enough juice over here with the Pixel 7a. I don't really feel like it's a necessary upgrade to the Pixel 8a. However, Tensor 3 is a lot more power efficient, significantly more power efficient. They've done a lot to kind of get Tensor 2 locked in. It took them a long time, took them a few updates, but they've finally gotten Tensor 2 to the point where the battery's not just melting away as you're using it. When I first got this phone, I would sit there and watch it and be scrolling through and doing stuff and just watching the percentages melt off on this device. It was lucky to get 5 hours of screen on time. That's not the issue over here. And the battery's only slightly bigger. I think it's 45-ish, 100 milliamp hours to 43 and change over here. So it's not a huge difference in battery. But the Tensor G3 is significantly better at power management than the outgoing Tensor G2. So that is something you're going to notice. You're going to notice that extra hour or so of screen on time with the Pixel 8a that you didn't quite get, even though you wanted, with the Pixel 7a. Like I said, 8 gigs of RAM. Cameras are going to be comparable because you got that, I believe it's even the same 64-megapixel sensor between these two devices. Screen is better on the Pixel 8a. It is. It's brighter on the Pixel 8a. I know the kind of pictures kind of throw it off, but it is brighter over here. You get the 120 hertz refresh rate. That might be worth something to you. Apparently, refresh rate on these Pixel 8 A-series devices is all the rage. So, we didn't buy the Pixel 6a because of the 60 hertz. Well, then 120 should be a massive upgrade over the 90 for the 7a, right? That's... Anyway, it's a nicer display. And, if you If they had kind of given us these upgrades last year on the 7A, I probably would have jumped up and down less about the price increase to $499. I really do think that the 8A this year, with all that Google offers, is worth the $499, where I thought, like with just the wireless charge and the 90 hertz and a couple other things, the Pixel 7A really wasn't worth that stretch. Now, today, 2024, these two devices. Yeah, if there's more than like $100 gap between these two, pick up a 7A. You're still getting a decent build quality. You're roughly the same. I mean, it's plastic. You're just literally trading in the matte plastic for the gloss. You're getting a nice feel in the hand, unless you don't like the boxier feel. The display is better than the 6A display. It's better than a lot of the Pixel displays had been previously. So it's not as dull as like there were some really dull ones in there. The Pixel 4, Pixel 4. So just some really dull displays. It's not quite that bad. You got to crank it all the way up. It is fairly saturated. It is poppy. It does get bright enough. So don't feel like you're getting a total downgrade there. And you got the 90 hertz. So if you can live with the Tensor G2, if you can live with the fact that you're probably not getting Gemini Nano, and you're not going to get some of the high-end features going forward, if you can live with that, and the fewer years of support, if you can live with that, then you can save yourself, $100 or more by picking up a 7A. However, just keep in the back of your mind that as long as you can get over the design differences between these two, this is going to be supported longer. They're going to give it some of the new features, even if it doesn't get all the Gemini features, or they're going to shoehorn it, or whatever they got to do to put the Gemini features on here. You are getting that 7 years of support. You're going to be getting more feature drops. There are things that will come to this device that aren't quite going to make it or going to fall off, not as quickly as they do on the 7A. So, if there's an extra year or two of stuff, whether it's an enhancement to whatever, or the live trend, or whatever you're going to get, which is really boiling down to being the reason why you buy a Pixel. I mean, it used to be software. They kind of tried to make a run at it hardware-wise, but really now it's getting back to software, and now in the next year or so, AI. That's why you're going to pick up a Google device, because you like the Google Pixel extras. You like all the stuff that their software gives. So being as that's going to be the centerpiece of why you'd buy a Pixel, keep that in mind, that you're going to be getting that significantly longer over in here with the 7 years of support for the 8A than you are on the 7A. So that's something to keep in mind. However, if you just want just kind of that base Pixel experience, your budget is around $300 and $350, pick up a 7A. As long as you don't have modem issues. Some people didn't. On AT&T, I had modem issues. I don't think the modem is that good in the Pixel 7A. But if you're somebody who's on T-Mobile, I didn't have an issue. AT&T, I had issue. So Verizon, T-Mobile, maybe you can luck out and be okay. But if you're somebody that uses AT&T, I would recommend spending the extra money on the 8A. But push that aside, the connectivity. If you live next to a tower or something like that, and connectivity is never an issue for you, save some money on a 7A. Because it really comes down to internals. You're not talking about a whole lot. Yes, I understand that the chipset is an upgrade, but year over year, you would not upgrade. If you already have a 7A, I would not tell you to buy a Pixel 8A. I would not tell you to upgrade. So that to me says that if there's a significant dollar amount between these two, save some money and get the 7A. Because I think you are getting 85 to 90% of the experience of the device over here. But that extra 10% is worth the money. That extra 10% is not something that you're getting with the 8A. It's not something you just, shoo away or dismiss. It's significant. There are reasons why you'd pick up and spend extra money on the 8A. I just don't feel for the majority of people that's going to be enough to convince me to get an 8A. If you already have a 7A, wait for next year. If you got a 6A, we're going to do that comparison, because that gets a bit more interesting, because I do think there is enough of an upgrade from the 6A, which I love. It's a fantastic device. One of the best budget devices of all time. But I do see stuff here, especially if you could get a bit of a deal on it, or if you could trade in and get like one of those carrier upgrades or boosted, something like that, and get yourself an 8A. I do see reasons why you might want to pick up the new device. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that delicious day.